It 2017. It's essentially about a group of kids who run into this like demonic type of entity who can take the shape of things that these kids in this town fear, and then them trying to overcome this as well as their own personal adversities. Now, this film has been fairly a long time in the making. There was the 1990, obviously, movie there, and of course that's based off of the Stephen King novel, which is insanely long. And this movie actually pretty successfully captures approximately half of the book, and narratively you think that this would be like just an insane thing to try to adapt from this book because it jumps in different time periods. And speaking of the structure, it kind of felt like in the book, there were a number of scenes kind of stitched together, like there's a scary scene here, and then we're going off to this kid to focus on this kid and their adversities with their parents or whatever. And then it jumps to another kid seeing the clown and being scared. So there was a lot of kind of jumping, and it almost felt to me as if they could have taken scenes and just kind of shuffled them around, and it would have been kind of the same story and same flow to the overall movie, which could be a negative to some. To me, it was a little bit, because part of the way through the movie, I felt like, okay, well, where's this going? Is this gonna tie into anything? Are they gonna tie together? Which I knew they would eventually. It just felt slightly disjointed to me. That is just in terms of the narrative, the storytelling in general, and actually kind of tended to be a little bit draggy until finally we do get to what ties everything together. And then once that happened, it definitely picked up. And speaking of those scary scenes, you know, it's a lot for me to actually get scared at a movie nowadays. I didn't really feel that any of the scenes really scared me. I did feel that they were creepy for sure. They did a really good job with creeping the audience out, especially when it comes to the performances and the sound design especially, which I believe was really, really well done, really lent itself to the story being told, and the characters, it meshed well with all of the visuals and the creepiness going on. However, I did feel that there were times when it would become overbearing. When there would be a scary moment, there would be like a loud musical cue or, you know, orchestral hit going on to emphasize the scare. There wasn't a whole lot of subtlety going on with the scares. A lot of it was accompanied, or most if not all of it was accompanied by a loud musical blaring hit. Although it seems like for most moviegoers, it really wouldn't draw attention for them. For me, who is inclined to listening to the sound design and things like that, it really drew my attention to that instead of immersing me in the story being told. Now, when I say that it meshed well with the cinematography going on, which was very, very well done, I think. The lighting was really great. Each scene had appropriate lighting and appropriate tones going on there. You can feel that everything was intentional and finely tuned in terms of the filmmaking. And you can tell that these filmmakers actually cared. That's one of the biggest positives I can give this movie, is that this movie felt like there were people behind it who actually cared about it. It wasn't just a studio out to remake something for cash. Especially the actors playing these characters in this movie. These kids did a wonderful job in this. Not a single one of them did I think, oh, this kid is acting, or they're just reading their dialogue, you know. And they all played pretty realized characters, and each one of them had kind of a quirk to them. One of them has a dirty mouth, one of them has a stutter, things like that. And these kids didn't go over that line of being too corny or cheesy or too overblown with their quirks. So you actually felt like you were a part of their group almost. And of course, it's in no small part thanks to the dialogue, of course, which sometimes it kind of bordered on the line of cheesiness, especially when it comes to Pennywise. But I don't think he was really corny or cheesy at all. There were parts which I kind of laughed, but that's not because it was unintentionally funny or the performance was unintentionally funny. It's because of how creepy it was in his performance of Pennywise, which is a good thing. Now, I think some people would think that it is cheesy, but it didn't really cross that line for me. I felt like there were some inconsistencies with his character, like how his character works. His actions in general felt a little bit inconsistent. I can't talk about it too much without going into spoilers, which these things don't really bother me that much. It's just things that don't quite add up. Maybe they'll go into more detail in the sequel, which they're probably going to make. And hopefully they get these same filmmakers in here so that we get that same feeling of care put into this film as opposed to it being released solely for making the production company money. But for now, It 2017 is worth your time. I would probably give it a better rating if I didn't feel it was as draggy as I did. Maybe it was my mood, maybe it was actually the movie. What do you guys think? Do you think it was draggy or is it just me? At any rate, thank you for watching. Subscribe if you haven't. Share the video. Take it easy.